if you look at the last 2 years, and as you mentioned, you tracked all the jobs numbers and got them even before they were out. I get them when they are out, and as soon as they are out, I put it into Tableau, and then I crank through all the numbers, and then I'm really trying to look down onto the industry level to kind of see what's driving it. And then I put together a data visualization and provide that free to the public on Bancreek.com. It's just one of the many things we do. And my background just happens to be in healthcare. I tried to run away from it as far as I possibly could get away from it. And now here I am. I started creating this. I created this dashboard probably midway through last year. And I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like half of these jobs are healthcare this month. 80%, 60%. I mean, these just very, very big numbers. So now here we sit. As of May, which is the last data point that we have, if you look at the prior 2 years, 63% of all net new non-farm payrolls have come from healthcare and social assistance. So 63%, for context, that's only 17% of all employees work in healthcare and social assistance. So if you kind of go a little bit further and dig down on that, if you were to remove all of those jobs from the entire economy, from the private marketplace, we have added about 45,000 jobs per month, which I don't need to tell you is not a level that can sustain full employment. And right now, I mean, this could potentially have gone on forever, right? I mean, yes, we're going to have issues with the budget, and we're going to have issues with, dramatically escalating expense and all the inefficiencies that I'm sure we'll talk about. But it's all been brought to a head right now with this one big, beautiful bill.
Okay, I want to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Let's break this down. First and foremost, the people watching, want to let them know they can put their questions into X, Twitter, and we will make sure we ask Eric your questions. You can do this in YouTube as well. Just put it into the chat. Now, Eric, if people want to read, because it's not like you're just doing one-off. You've been writing about this for a while. Yeah. If they want to follow you, should they go to the bancreek.com and they can see this stuff, or do they have to be a client?
No, it's all free to the public on our website. When we started our ETF business and we put up our public advisory site, I'm just a nerd with this stuff. I love doing it. Okay. And we decided that we wanted to kind of to put up these data visualizations, write about them as well, explain this, and then hopefully using our writing as a case study, so people will go out and not believe what we're saying, but go and come up with their own views by having easier access to data that really should be available.
Okay. So I'm going to repeat back. This is a technique I've been doing for years to make sure I'm hearing correctly, because most of us do not listen well. What I'm hearing you saying is that the job numbers and job creation in healthcare as reported by the Labor Department are somewhat misleading, and I would use the term ticking time bomb, posing a threat to the economy. Why?
Well, because we have this bill now. And frankly, it's easy for me to sit here and criticize the bill, but we have a math problem in this country, right? I mean, if the tax cuts, the extension of the tax cuts are non-negotiable, and we want to have any hope at, at placating the fiscal conservatives, right? And not completely blowing up the deficit, you got to cut somewhere. And, it didn't take me very...
Medicaid. Look, Mitch McConnell said, apparently, get over it. So they're going to cut Medicaid.
We're going to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid over the next 10 years. And the problem with that is, forget about the lives that are at stake. There's been a lot of reporting that's out there on the human toll that this will take, right? I get the market may not care about that. Right? That's a different topic. But the problem is that there are so many jobs, as we just talked about, that have been created on the back of Medicaid, of Medicaid expansion, of the ACA marketplace, of the expansion of Medicare, of the creation of the Medicare Part D program. I mean, when you go over the last 30 years, this has all been expansion of federally subsidized healthcare that has created a structural growth engine that is the most powerful job growth engine that I have ever seen.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat back. So essentially what you're saying is government spending has helped, as it will do, has juiced that sector.
Yeah.
We have built out the healthcare system because of the government subsidies. And I'm not making a judgment call, right or wrong. I personally think the two most important things in this world are, food security. The causes I donate to are hunger and literacy. Healthcare would come in third. But what I'm hearing you say is that's about to get cut. And the first thing, those jobs are going to get cut as a way to deal with the budget deficits that will in community hospitals or in communities where medical services are provided. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think that there is not much of an appreciation for the fact that all of these healthcare jobs, this healthcare juggernaut, has been built on all of this federal spending and government policy to bring more people healthcare within this country. And all of the lack of transparency and the obfuscation of pricing and all that kind of stuff, which has created all these middlemen and everything. And it's all well and good to want to fix that, but this is kind of like, how banks were too big to fail back in 2008?
I covered it. I was on the ground floor of that bullshit.
Well, here, run with this one. Like, healthcare is too sick to cure, because if we do try to cure it, it's like administering the worst chemo you could think of to a patient. It's going to hurt that patient, just like it will hurt our economy if we try to start doing the right thing right now.
Oh, so I'm going to repeat back. If healthcare is too sick to cure, I'm thinking of that line because I love the British accent. And what's the actress who played Margaret Thatcher? Meryl Streep, when she says the medicine is harsh, but the patient requires it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's not what you're saying. You're saying it can't be cured. So if that's the case, I please don't believe I think this, because in my soul, I do believe we are in some respects our brother's keeper, although you got to pay for it. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the issue. If we have to cut and if the system isn't working, what would be wrong with let's blow this up and start over?
I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with that, as long as we're willing to go into a recession.
You think this would throw us into recession?
Well, to the extent that we actually need to create jobs. So there are lots of definitions on,
recession.
What I am saying is that we will not, in my mind, and please talk me out of this. Like, I do not understand how, especially with AI kind of coming for jobs.
Oh yeah, I work in AI. It's coming for. That's where I thought you were going to be going with this.
No. I'm going with once you actually start cutting the federal funding that has really never been touched for the better part of several decades.
Right.
And these jobs start going away. I think what people are expecting, and the market is so excited right now, is that, okay, inflation is tame. And we can talk about that too. I'm not that worried about inflation because of the way the metric is kind of cooked up and everything by the BLS. So if we don't worry about that and you get any teetering on jobs, then rates are going to get cut and people are going to party, until they realize that all the jobs that have grown over the past 2 years, 10 years, whatever, have come from healthcare. And there really has been anemic job growth anyway without healthcare. And so if they haven't reacted at all to any monetary policy over the past several decades, why would they care about it right now? So we can cut rates to zero. And then
the other thing that's going to happen, by the way, with AI is you're not going to need a human being to review the claim. AI will review it and then reject you, because health insurance companies, let's be honest, are in the business not of providing healthcare, they're in the business of providing a profit. And health insurance companies in this country were not for profit until the early 70s. Is that accurate?
Oh gosh.
Okay, we don't.
No, yeah. So
no, I think it is accurate, but I don't know it as a fact. So let me ask you. Let me ask you this. Okay, for investors, let's forget. I was watching the movie Margin Call. Which is just dastardly. That's what happened. No one's gone to jail essentially for the 2008 financial crisis. That's another show we can do. How does an investor play this? Do you buy insurance companies? They're going to have great savings because they're going to be getting rid of people because of AI. Or do you not buy insurance companies because the clients they're getting through perhaps the Obamacare exchanges will no longer be able to get it?
So I don't think that healthcare is investable at all anymore. And I shouldn't say anymore, but basically, my philosophy as an investor is if there is a major unknown tail risk in a complex system that can lead to catastrophic failure of that system that I don't understand, I don't want to take that risk, right? The price to earnings multiples are meaningless to me. Like when you have tail risk like that are out there like that. If you had pure plays within the space, maybe you could kind of convince me to do that. But the problem is they're not pure plays anymore. So if you want to invest in, say, like a healthcare insurer, well, they own specialty pharmacies and they own the PBM, and the PBMs are in the crosshairs of everyone right now, Republican and Democrat. And so and that's largely.
Well, just tell the viewers, because I always forget what the acronym stands for, but they're the middlemen, the PBM.
They're the middlemen. They're the pharmacy benefit managers. So they're the ones that are basically arbitraging the lack of knowledge of drug prices within this country, and basically taking what a trader would take in the middle for profit. So there's really no investable way to play that in my mind. With the NIH funding cuts, I worry about pharmacies. There really aren't any investable pharmacy chains anymore. I mean, Walgreens is private and Rite Aid is gone.
Well, I was there when I was working in Buffalo when they were closing Rite Aids, and good riddance. But
so the healthcare space, I mean, like there could be some argument to be made for some of the life sciences tools, the biologic development and everything, but even all of that is in question right now.
Okay. So to reiterate before I ask you the very last question, because I want to get our next guest I've interviewed her before, and we're talking housing, and healthcare is the one thing everyone talks about. Housing is the other thing everyone talks about. And she is an expert on this. She's a bang up real estate agent in South Florida and Key West. So Jen Istoffer is standing by. We're going to get to her in a second. But the key points here. You do believe the big, beautiful bill, as it's called, will get through Congress. It will add to the deficit. I mean, we know it's going to do that. I interviewed Rick Rule, who's an investor, who said if a politician, his lips are moving, they're lying. And he was talking about Republicans and Democrats. So let's say it goes through, and even though the Speaker of the House is saying they're not cutting Medicaid, we do know they're cutting it to the tune of how much?
Well, right now, the last estimate I saw was roughly around $1 trillion over 10 years.
That's a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Could be a lot of jobs.
I got to ask you this last question.
Sure.
It's because it's the headline. It's all we're talking about in New York, other than, the most popular one in New York is it's so hot. It's 100 friggin' degrees here. So we had this guy. He's a Democratic socialist, and you might be a Democratic socialist, no problem there. But what do you think? He's promising all kinds of free things. Do you think he would? I don't know if the city could do it. Free healthcare in New York City.
I mean, at a local level, I mean, I think it could be possible, but I've been thinking, I live in a very, very small community where I can wrap my head around how you could execute it with 5,000 people. New York is not a small community like I live in. And when I look at, trying to adopt anything that looks like Australia or anything that looks like kind of like a Medicare for all or universal health care, there's a big cost to it. And it's innovation. It's the fact that what our system does really well is develop innovation, innovative new treatments, new drugs, Alzheimer's treatments, gene editing, all that kind of stuff. If we try to take their prices, if we try to unravel this, you're going to have to sacrifice something. And in my mind, it's going to be innovation.
Well, maybe we can sacrifice Mitch McConnell. I mean, he's been on this planet a long time anyway. So, I'm going to get shit for that.